Hello everyone, Jacob from the Pre-Order Bonus Podcast, and we're back on YouTube. Last time we released this kind of video, way back in 2020, if you can remember that, we wanted to see what you were all interested in, and seeing our Where Are They Now video continually get views and comments inspired us to turn this into a series. So, it'll work like this. In the first half of the video, we'll do some recaps and follow up on titles we've mentioned before if there's anything new to report. We'll finish out the video with some games where info seems scarce, really hard to find, or where updates have just lapsed. Games will rotate in and out of this section too. We've been reading through the comments and we love seeing the suggestions, questions, and links to additional info we've missed. This series will probably only be monthly. Since we're discussing games that we don't have much news on, well, it doesn't make sense repeating that nothing has changed every week. But enough of all that. Let's get to what we're really interested in, the games. Listen, there are games we don't hear anything on, and then there are games like The Last Night from Odd Tales. This game is set to be published by Raw Fury, who are one of the top dogs of indie gaming right now. This game made a visual splash when we first saw it at E3 in 2017. It's venturing into that strange territory of 2.5D side-scrolling action. The pixel art may look retro, but the animations and color palette are next-gen worthy. And much like our April 2020 video, there is nothing really new to add. We even mentioned in our last video that in December 2019, they tweeted out that the game was still in production, just so people could know that production was still happening. Well, they kept true to their now yearly tradition of letting us know that in December 2020, the game was still happening. So, as of a month ago, despite all of the setbacks Odd Tales has had with the game, and the pandemic on top of all of that, it's still in production. Potential release date? I got 3 letters for you. L-O. Now here's a game with some more news. Sable from Shedworks. Gregorios Kythriotis? Definitely butcher that name, and I hope I never meet this guy because I would probably evaporate on sight from embarrassment. But he is relatively active on Twitter. There, he'll occasionally drop a GIF from Sable, flexing the beautiful art direction that captivated gamers in the first place. In fact, if you go to the Sable website, the tab Development GIFs is a link to his Twitter feed. We know this game has been delayed a few times, but let's face it, the pandemic isn't helping any of these devs, and Shedworks undoubtedly, despite their team growing a little bit, have been set back. However, I think that Sable is nearing release, and a 2021 launch is possible. Game Reactor reported on July 27th and 28th in 2020 a short dev update on Sable. Listen, this update was a video that clocked in under a minute, but it did show us a titular character, Sable, doing a bit more exploring. We see her climbing walls, not just on a hover bike. Progress is progress. But then on September 1st, 2020, Greg returned with a 2-minute video explaining the game and development progress. We see more customization, areas to explore, and movement abilities for the player. And we learned that the game will have side quests, which I'm not even sure if that's actually news because most games have side quests, right? We could have assumed that. A tweet from January 4th, 2021 from Greg reads, quote, I noticed that we're on a couple of 2021 lists and I'm extremely grateful people are still hyped for a game. Excited to share more with you this year, end quote. Sable is due to release on Xbox Series X and S and PC, and probably last gen, but that hasn't been confirmed or denied. Alright, I had to take off my tinfoil hat regarding Cuphead's DLC. I wanted, with zero evidence at all, and slowly just convincing myself because I wanted to will it into being, believe that the Cuphead DLC was going to be a full-fledged sequel. Well, my hopes are crushed. That's what you get for believing in conspiracy theories. Back in July 2020, when Jeff Keighley of the Game Awards interviewed Maya Moldenhauer, the CEO of Studio MDHR, that's when we learned that Cuphead was launching on PS4 and also that the studio was doing their best to continue production on the DLC, The Delicious Last Course. On November 25th, the studio announced that the DLC was going to be pushed back into 2021. It's kind of obvious by then from the hint that they dropped in July, but the November update did give us this. They said, we should expect that The Delicious Last Course is designed to be a conclusion to the story that began on that fateful day at the Devil's Casino. Well, I'm sad about it. What I'm not sad about is how the sophomore release from Heart Machine is coming into focus. Solar Ash, formerly billed as Solar Ash Kingdom, has shown up in PS5 promos, and as one of our viewers has pointed out, has been divulging more information in interviews and clips. Sarah Clemens from Unwinnable had a short interview with Alex Preston in which he stated that the game will release in 2021. While preparing this video, the PS5 CES video announcement suggested this game would release in June 2021. With the promos rolling in and it being featured as a staple PlayStation exclusive, I think we're pretty close to checking Solar Ash off our list. The follow-up to the critically acclaimed Hyperlight Drifter, Solar Ash takes place in the same universe but is not a direct sequel. While the color palette borrows a lot from Hyperlight Drifter, the movement seems to take full advantage of the leap from 2D to 3D. Preston explains that a lot of movement mechanics will be involved, including quote-unquote cloud surfing, whatever that is, and wild gravity. Solar Ash will be a timed PS exclusive, expected to release both on the PS4, PS5, and then PC at launch. Alright, if you've listened to our podcast, you know that I already love this game. I brought it up on plenty of episodes. It's a debut game from Pixel, a studio based in Shanghai. Eastward is a top-down, gorgeous indie RPG game featuring the duo Sam and John. This is another game that will probably exit this series soon with the info that we've received in the past few months. Chucklefish, the publisher behind Eastward, released a fairly meaty update on Eastward's production on October 12th of last year. On top of the strains the pandemic has brought upon developers, Chucklefish informed us that Pixel was completely locked out of their servers. This means that when working from home, they couldn't even access their studio remotely to keep working on the game. The power was cut to the building, so it was a total no-go. Oof. So the delay became obvious. However, back in October, the same blog update informed us that the studio was working on the last chapter, tightening up loose ends, and polishing boss battles. That means we're on the tail end of things. My bet going with Cameron is that we see a late March 2021 release. Am I being overly optimistic? Yes. Should you believe with me? Yes. Will you also be wrong? Yes. But hey, Chucklefish is starting to ramp up promotions for Eastward, releasing more and more screenshots on their Twitter feed. Eastward will be out in 2021 and released on PC and Switch. Alright, here comes the second section of the video in our new Where Are They Now series, in which we will add new games that have entered into the realm of the unknown. Information on them has lapsed, and despite whatever splash they made when they first were teased, several months have passed. I try to keep this window to about 6 months, give or take a month, or maybe the studio has steady info coming out in a blog, but things have since slowed down. The first game we're going to talk about is one that was also suggested by listeners in the comment section of the last video we made. The Legend of Zelda meets Isometric Fox in Tunic. Developed by Andrew Scholdice, Tunic made quite an impression when we saw a 10-minute gameplay video at E3 in 2018. While the silence on the game has been relatively substantial, in the last 2 months of 2020, we got 2 interviews with Scholdice from heavy hitters at IGN and Xbox. Ryan McCaffrey at IGN pulled some solid updates on the game's progress. Scholdice said that the game Tunic has found itself in a way, and that question marks on a whiteboard have since evolved into a checklist that the team can work through. While this might just sound like the transition from pre-production to production, remember that this is over the course of 2 years. More production has probably happened than there has led on. In the interview with Will Tuttle from Xbox Wire, we get more of an idea of how gameplay will feel. Of course, we want to know anything regarding a release date, and of course, the dev avoids anything precise in both interviews. Will it release in 2021? Well, that'd be nice, but I think if it did, it would be late into the year. We'll let you know when we get another update. Tunic will be published by Finji and released on Xbox consoles with some kind of exclusivity deal, and also on PC. The collective sigh when Nintendo's most recent Indie Direct came and went in December 2020 was all due to the lack of any news related to Team Cherry's Hollow Knight Silksong. Was there any indication that something might be shown? No. Do people often rush into fantasies like dreaming up a Cuphead 2? Yes. Team Cherry gave us some gameplay footage and an info dump nearly 2 years ago, Valentine's Day 2019. Since then, information has been relatively sparse. Edge magazine snagged some interesting details, though, regarding the sequel's protagonist, Hornet. For those unfamiliar, Hornet is a prominent NPC in Hollow Knight, and well, she's taller than the first game's hero. Edge reports that the co-director said that everything has to accommodate her extra height, something that will drastically change the layout of different levels, how Hornet will traverse the world, etc. This is all very exciting. It's awesome to hear that the studio is being meticulous and thoughtful about their game. But when will it come out? When will we get more info? Who knows? No dev likes committing to a launch window, and Team Cherry is no exception. But Silksong is on lots of anticipated game lists of 2021. So I think there's a real chance it comes out this year. Hollow Knight Silksong will release on PC, and Switch, where it has some kind of console exclusivity deal. I am very, very excited for this one. I played Sabotage Studios' side-scrolling ninja platformer The Messenger and fell in love. So knowing that they've got another game cooked up has got me hyped. Sea of Stars, a turn-based RPG, is on the horizon. Now, Sabotage has placed a 2022 release date for this game, and it's been there for quite a while, and who knows if that will change much. They have been relatively quiet about it until now. Broadcasted through their Discord, Sabotage Studios did a full first chapter playthrough in December 2020 through Twitch. From what I can see, that clip is gone, so join their Discord? There is a demo floating around there, but only higher tiered backers from the Kickstarter campaign have access to it. Like I mentioned, the game has nearly always had a 2022 release. That seems likely for now, but it will let you know if anything significant changes in the future. In the meantime, follow them on Twitter, jump in their Discord, and check out their website. Oh, and their website features music from the soundtrack, and it is awesome. The final new game to add to this list is a game that another commenter suggested. Now, this is a game that was not on my radar at all, and I am super invested in it now. Dokuroku, developed by Eric Mack, was a Kickstarter game that had an estimated delivery of October 2017. Woof! On September 3rd, 2020, Beck gave a vague update related to the game's beta version. It has been passed around to a few close friends for feedback. While it's been forever, an update 3 years after the expected launch date, hearing something at all is good news and a good reminder that the game is still happening. Dokuroku looks like it'll be a 2D roguelite with plans to launch on PC. When? Who knows?